There was a time when you felt invisible, a time when the world seemed to move forward and you stood still, watching, waiting, hoping. You've known the weight of doubt pressing on your chest, the sting of failure whispering that you're not enough. Maybe you've hit rock bottom, maybe you're still there. But let me tell you something, rock bottom is not the end. It's the foundation on which legends are built. Every great success story begins with someone who was counted out, overlooked, underestimated. But the difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise, it's not luck, it's not talent. It's a decision to fight, to rise, to refuse to accept anything less than the life you deserve. And today, right here, right now, that decision is yours to make. The path from zero to hero isn't a fairy tale, it's a battle, but one you are built to win. Let's break it down. Here's what you need to know. These 5 things will change everything. Pay attention. This is the turning point. Stop waiting for permission to rewrite your narrative. Your past does not define you. Your choices do. This is where everything begins. This is where you stop living like a side character in your own life and take the lead. Because let me tell you something. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to show up and say, hey, it's your time now. You decide when it's your time. You decide when enough is enough. Maybe you've been through hell. Maybe you've made mistakes, failed, lost, or been told that you're not good enough. Maybe you've believed that lie for so long that it feels like the truth, but it's not. The truth is, you are not what happened to you. You are not the person who failed. You are not the person who was abandoned, rejected, or overlooked. You are the person who gets to decide what happens next. The world will try to put you in a box. It will try to label you based on your past, your circumstances, your failures, but labels only stick if you let them. The moment you really decide that your past is just a chapter and not the whole story, that is the moment everything changes. Think about it. Every person you admire, every so-called hero you look up to has a past filled with obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. They were once the underdog. They were once someone no one believed in. But at some point, they took control of their story. They decided they weren't going to let their circumstances dictate their future. They rewrote the script. And you can do the same. But here's the catch. It's going to be uncomfortable. Changing your life means stepping into the unknown. It means letting go of excuses, of victimhood, of the idea that things just happen to you. It means standing up and saying, I take full responsibility for where I am, and I take full responsibility for where I'm going. Because that's the truth. Where you go from here is 100% in your hands. Owning your story means taking every failure, every painful moment, and using it as fuel. It means refusing to let the past define you, but instead using it to refine you. Every challenge you've faced has given you something, a lesson, a strength, a deeper understanding of who you are. And now it's time to use that. So stop waiting. Stop looking at your past like it's a prison. It's not. It's a stepping stone, and you, right here, right now, have the power to take the first step forward. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen. What matters is that you rise. What matters is that you look in the mirror and see not who you were, but who you are becoming. Today, you take back your power. Today, you own your story. Thinking won't change your life. Action will. You can sit around dreaming, planning, hoping, and waiting for the perfect moment, but that moment will never come. There is no perfect time. There is no right set of circumstances. There is only now. And what you do right now determines everything. So many people stay stuck because they believe they need more information, more motivation, or more confidence before they take action. That's a lie. You build that readiness by doing the thing you're afraid of, by showing up when you don't feel like it, by taking messy, imperfect steps forward. You have dreams, goals, a vision for the life you want. But if you're not taking action, those dreams mean nothing. The difference between the person who succeeds and the one who doesn't is not talent, it's not luck, it's not intelligence, it's action. One person wakes up and says, I wish things would change. The other wakes up and says, I'm going to make things change. And that's the person who wins. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You don't need more time. You don't need a better plan. You don't need someone to push you. You just need to start right now with whatever you have, even if it's small, even if it's clumsy, even if it's not perfect. Because action creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Think about it. How many times have you waited? Waited for the new year, waited for Monday, waited for the right feeling. And how many times did that waiting turn into more waiting? How many times did the opportunity pass you by? That's the problem with hesitation. It turns into a habit. Every time you put off taking action, you're reinforcing the belief that you're not ready. And the more you do that, the harder it becomes to break free. The only way out of that cycle is to do something, anything. Right now, you want to get in shape? Stop researching the best workout and go for a walk. You want to start a business? Stop looking for the perfect idea and take one small step. Make a call, send an email, create something. You want to change your life? Stop overthinking and take one uncomfortable, scary, bold action. Action is what separates people who achieve their dreams from those who talk about them. It's what turns wishes into reality. And here's the best part. When you start taking action, even small actions, you begin to feel different. You start to see yourself differently. You stop feeling stuck. You start to believe in what's possible. But you have to be willing to do it before you feel ready. You have to be willing to show up when it's hard, when you don't know what you're doing, when you're full of doubt. That's how you build the muscle of action. That's how you create momentum that carries you forward. So no more waiting, no more excuses, no more overthinking. You don't need another plan. You don't need more time. You just need to take massive action right now. Motivation is a lie. It feels good in the moment. It fires you up, gets your heart racing, makes you believe you can take on the world. But what happens when the feeling fades? It happens when the excitement wears off and all you're left with is the hard, uncomfortable reality of the work that needs to be done. That's where most people quit. That's where they tell themselves, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into next week, next month, next year. And suddenly they wake up in the same place they've always been, wondering why nothing has changed. If you want to go from zero to hero, you have to stop relying on motivation and start building discipline. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is what gets things done when motivation disappears. Discipline is waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's going to the gym when you don't feel like it. It's working on your dream when no one is watching, when there's no applause, when progress feels painfully slow. Discipline is showing up no matter what. Because let's be honest, there will be days when you don't want to do it, days when you're tired, unmotivated, frustrated, and in those moments, you have a choice. You can listen to the voice in your head telling you to take it easy, that it's okay to skip today, or you can push through. And every time you push through, you strengthen the part of you that refuses to quit. That's how discipline is built, by doing the hard things over and over again until they become second nature. And here's the secret. The more disciplined you become, the less you have to rely on willpower. You stop debating with yourself about whether you should do something. You just do it. You stop looking for shortcuts. Stop making excuses. Stop waiting for the right time. You train yourself to take action no matter how you feel. Think about the most successful people in the world. Do you think they wake up every morning feeling motivated? Do you think they always feel like putting in the work? No, but they do it anyway because they understand that success isn't about feelings, it's about habits. It's about commitment. Discipline is what separates people who dream from people who achieve. It's what turns goals into results. So how do you build it? You start small. You commit to one thing, one habit, one action, one promise to yourself, and you follow through no matter what, even when it's inconvenient, even when you don't feel like it. Because every time you keep that promise, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You train yourself to be the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do. And over time, that discipline spills over into every area of your life. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop negotiating with yourself. You just do the work. That's how you win. That's how you transform your life. The voice in your head is the biggest liar you'll ever meet. It whispers, you're not good enough. It reminds you of every mistake you've made, every failure, every moment you felt small and insignificant. It keeps you stuck in fear, drowning in self-doubt, convincing you that you're not ready, that you're not capable, that you'll never be as good as the people you admire. And for far too long, you've listened. You've believed that voice. You've let it control you. You've let it keep you from chasing the things you want, from stepping into the person you were meant to be. But here's the truth. That voice, it's not you. It's not reality. It's a programmed response. a survival mechanism designed to keep you safe, to protect you from risk, from failure, from pain. It's a leftover instinct from a time when playing it safe meant staying alive. But in today's world, playing it safe means staying stuck. It means watching your dreams slip away while you sit on the sidelines, paralyzed by fear that isn't even real. The most successful people in the world aren't fearless. They have doubts, they have insecurities, they hear that same voice in their head telling them they're not good enough. But the difference is, they don't listen. They've learned to separate themselves from the noise. They've learned to challenge the lies, to question the doubts, to rewrite the story playing in their minds. And that's exactly what you have to do. Every time that voice tells you you can't, you have to respond with watch me. Every time it whispers you'll fail, you have to say failure is part of the process, and I'm not afraid of it. Every time it tries to convince you that you're not worthy, you remind yourself that worth isn't something you earn, it's something you already have. Your mind is like a muscle. If you've spent years feeding it negative thoughts, it's going to take time to retrain it. But the good news is, just like any other muscle, you can strengthen it. You can rewire your brain to work for you instead of against you. Start paying attention to your inner dialogue. Catch the negative thoughts as they come up, and instead of accepting them as truth, challenge them, replace them. When your mind tells you you're not ready, remind yourself that nobody ever feels ready. When it says you're not good enough, remind yourself that growth comes from taking action, not from being perfect. And here's the most important thing. Stop waiting for the voice to disappear. It won't. But you can learn to turn down the volume. You can learn to move forward despite the fear, despite the doubt, despite the insecurity. Because the only way to silence the inner critic is to prove it wrong. Again and again and again. Every time you take action, you weaken its grip. Every time you refuse to let fear control you, you gain power. And the more you do this, the quieter that voice becomes. The stronger you become. The life you want is on the other side of that voice. So stop listening. Stop believing the lies. Start rewriting the story in your head. And start living like the person you were meant to be. You were not put on this earth to live a life of mediocrity. You weren't meant to just survive, to wake up every day feeling stuck, exhausted, and uninspired. Deep down, you know this. You feel it. The pull towards something greater. The quiet voice inside you that says, this can't be all there is. But somewhere along the way, you started settling. You started accepting good enough. You convinced yourself that your dreams were unrealistic, that people like you don't get to have extraordinary lives. That's a lie. The only difference between people who achieve incredible things and those who don't is that one group refuses to settle. They refuse to let fear, doubt, or circumstances dictate their lives. They demand more from themselves. They expect more. And because of that, they create more. But refusing to settle isn't just about success. It's about self-respect. It's about looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I deserve better, and I will not stop until I get it. It's about raising your standards, not just in your career, but in your relationships, your health, your mindset, your entire life. Because the second you start settling in one area, it spreads. You compromise on your goals, your happiness, your potential, and before you know it, living a life that doesn't even feel like yours. So how do you stop settling? First, you have to decide what you truly want. Not what's practical, not what's good enough, but what sets your soul on fire. Get brutally honest with yourself. If money, fear, and other people's opinions didn't matter, what would you go after? What kind of life would you build? If your answer scares you, good. That means you're finally thinking big enough. Second, you need to stop accepting excuses, especially your own. Stop telling yourself that now isn't the right time, that you don't have the resources, that it's too late for you. That's just fear disguised as logic. The truth is, there will never be a perfect moment. The conditions will never be ideal. But if you want more, you have to start now, with whatever you have, exactly where you are. Next, surround yourself with people who make you level up. If you spend your time with people who are comfortable settling, you will settle too. If the people around you don't challenge you, don't inspire you, don't push you to be better, you need to find new people. Success isn't just about hard work, it's about environment. Put yourself in rooms where growth is the standard, not the exception. And finally, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Refusing to settle means stepping into the unknown. It means taking risks, failing, getting back up and trying again. It means pushing yourself beyond your limits, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. Growth is uncomfortable, but so is regret. The difference is one leads to a life you're proud of, and the other leaves you wondering what could have been. The reality is you get one life, one shot, and every single day you're making a choice, either to settle for less than you deserve or to demand more. There is no in between. So stop waiting, stop shrinking, stop accepting a life that doesn't inspire you. Raise your standards, refuse to settle, and go after the life you were meant to live.